All right, here we go. Let's have a quick chat about brief Border Wars. It'll be a relatively brief overview or comments, I guess. So I basically, haven't finished the first scenario that I decided to play, Football Wars, because I just got a little frustrated. Pretty straightforward, simple game. 4 pages of rules, as I mentioned earlier on. But as you dig into it, there are a number of exceptions to nearly each and every rule, which what I thought was going to be a excellent introductory war game for folks to kind of get a feel for area-based area-based counter-based gameplay. I'm now having second thoughts about that. Obviously, a lot of Brian Train designs are abstract in nature. District Commander is highly abstract, but it's very thought-provoking and thoughtful system, and I enjoy it very much. However, I think either the developer who did the extra work on this or Compass has kind of let this game down. This for $67, I expect that all of the terrain is defined. It's just not acceptable to have, unless it's somewhere. There's 4 pages of rules in here, and it says there are mountains and there are woods and there are urban, and there are little icons on the map that I quite obviously guessed the mountains and the trees, right? The forests. And I can see that there are names for the different towns, and some of those names, actually, they're all in black, but they're all sort of villages, I assume, in this particular game here. And then the top half of the black circle, let me switch camera. You don't need to see my mug. The top half of the black circle is black, is shaded in, right? Now these are not shaded in, and I checked some of the other maps and they're basically the same. So I just assumed that the shaded number here was so it would stand out, and I don't know why there are even zeros in here, right? Which is kind of goofy in of itself now that I look at it. But anyway, so for $67, I want a little set of icons on the map somewhere just to say what the frickin' terrain is. I know it may be obvious, but if you're a brand new gamer, you're not going to get it. So just get it right, really. And yes, I am in a bit of a bad mood because I have a dead rat in my ceiling somewhere and I can't find the damn thing, and my downstairs smells terrible. So 4 pages of rules, relatively well organized, pretty clear, but there are levels of exceptions in here. Combat results is a great example where you go through the combat results, and here's all the combat results here, and there's 3 statements in here which could have easily been represented in a very small table that said if you took less than the combat value number of hits, you were disrupted, or you could retreat. If you took equal to or more than your combat value, then you would definitely be disrupted and you may retreat, or you could take double the combat value and you definitely you go straight to the damage bucket, right? And then how that's allocated and all the rest of it is a little bit, it's okay, nothing necessarily wrong with that. So the game system is built on a deck of 52 cards or 54 cards, as the case may be, and therein lies a lot of randomness. And here's what has happened with me. The last 2 turns, the Hondurans have got more, like 4 or more cards, and the El Salvadorians have only got 1 or 2. And in one instance, they got the random event card, and it said it ended up being that you had to discard a card. So they had no cards for the turn other than their special actions, which were really not very useful since no one was disrupted and they all just needed to move or combat, not do anything else. So there was a whole turn where the El Salvadorians really didn't get to do anything. And of course, this all plays out in the end, because in the end, look, there will be I'm going to get 6 actions with no Honduran response other than special actions. And of course, they've been using their special actions to knock out the air force of the Salvadorians. So another interesting thing. So that just but can get wacky quickly, and I appreciate that as a I think Brian's not a kinetic war game designer guy. He's more of the asymmetrical, political orientated designer. So if that's the case, you maybe ought to just stay out of the kinetics side of things, because the kinetics here really are a little bit of a challenge for me. I just don't feel like they work well, and the air war in this particular scenario can get a little. You can game this really hard, and in the end use one aircraft unit to suppress the entire enemy's air force if you play the cards correctly. So that kind of breaks down the system, or the intention of the system, I think, a little bit. The game, look, the game's not horrible. It's not bad. I had my hopes up that this was going to be a fun, light, fantastic introductory game system that would draw more wargamers into the fold. And I think with some of the errors, little bits and things that are going to be niggly and frustrating, I think it fails to achieve its potential here. I'll probably set up another scenario. I don't know that I can be really bothered doing that at the moment. I know how this is going to all end out here. I've got 6 cards that I can play. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards. They'll all be white, all be El Salvadorian. Yeah, there's no random event in here. I'll be able to do a bunch of movement, a bunch of combats, and so I'll secure these 4 victory points, and we'll Bob's your uncle, and it'll all be over pretty much. It'll give the El Salvadorians a modest win or a minor victory or something of that nature. I could even potentially keep this if things go well. Get the Air Force back and stuff like that. So the game does, getting back to sort of reviewy style things, the game does put you in the situation where you're, I guess, in essence, the theater commander for all that is, a handful of battalions and companies and stuff. You're the overall commander. It's a highly irregular sort of warfare mode. Mountains and hills and jungle type terrain that, if you've ever been to Costa Rica, it's very similar to that. It's a very thick and dense and very narrow roads. It's another thing, another rules sort of clarification thing. The roads that don't end or come across the border here can't be used for supply in this game, which means there's only 2 supply points in the game, and one is here and one is behind the camera there. And you have to go to trace a clear path, otherwise you're paying extra off these combat numbers here to put units into combat. So if I wanted to put this unit into combat and there was no clear path, then it would cost me 2 of these combats instead of 1 of the 3 available. Really a little frustrating as the El Salvadorians trying to manage that. Here we see the Hondurans have plopped their guys in the way to block supply. Just got a little annoying when you realize that none of these other roads connect. So it's kind of a surprise. All right, so that's your role, the intelligence. You don't know what the other player has in terms of cards, but you do know how many they have, so you can assume that if they've got 4 cards, they can make 4 moves or 4 combats or some combination thereof. The objectives are you've got to capture these These are urban areas, by the way. These urban areas, these victory point locations, you've got to capture those. The guy that keeps the most wins. Basically, there's really, I can't speak to whether the order of battle is accurate or not. It's, 1969, two third world countries beating each other up over the border, basically border skirmish. I think I've talked about conflict resolution is just accumulation of the combat values, and you roll a die, you roll a 5 or a 6, and you get a hit. And then I explained earlier on what the impact of the hits. We talked a little bit about logistics before. Yeah, there's no scripting going on here. This is just a what if might have happened. No way you'll get to what the actual conclusion was, with a caveat, and I'll mention that at the end. The redeeming factor in this game. General narrative, I made some notes here, and I could see the story evolving, but it gets broken down by constantly having to get into the 4-page rulebook and the 4-page supplement for each individual scenario, double checking exceptions and rules and things of that nature. So that the immersion side of things got broken up a little bit, but there is a decent sort of story there. Obviously highly replayable because it's enormously random. So that's nice. Yeah, playtime's super short. You can crank this out without rules lookups in 40 minutes or thereabouts. And I'd say the rules are digestible, but once you actually start using them, you're going to spend a little bit of time working it out. So, brief border wars. If I were to say, did it achieve the designer's intent? And the designer's intent in this particular scenario was to show you the futility of war, and the futility of minor countries niggling over country-specific pride and minor borders and things of that nature. It clearly demonstrated the pointlessness of warfare as a means of solving some political problem. So bravo for that. Unfortunately, the execution in the rules writing, the clarity, and some of the way in which the information is presented has let down the game from a beginner's perspective. If you're a seasoned wargamer, you'll pick this up and go, oh yeah, this is fine, and you'll just have at it, and you'll play it, and you'll probably enjoy it. As I was talking to Mo earlier on, for what it is okay, right? But I just expect it to be a little bit better and more accurate and less of a challenge for the gamer to discern the rules. If you go jump on the Board Game Geek page, you'll see there's dozens and dozens and dozens of questions already about what the rules mean and how things are actually done. And for a 4-page set of rules, that's disconcerting to me. So that's my sort of 2 cents with this solo gameplay. First run through. Take it all with a grain of salt. The value for money thing here is probably okay if you played all 4 scenarios. That's 4 hours of gameplay. Divide that by $67. I guess that's going to be value for money in some way, shape, or form. Probably fun opposed as well, but I can see that you're going to get very frustrated if you get down to the last hand of cards and you don't get one, or you only get one and you're just that little bit short of achieving your objective. Doubly frustrating as a solo player. All right, thought I'd share that with you. There you go. Later.